Dodger. It's funny because Dodger's like, he doesn't like to be on camera. Anytime I pull the camera out and point it at him or near him, he just turns away. So that's why you get a lot of butt shots of Dodger walking away from the camera. But he looks good on camera, especially when there's grass out, like out here, because his red color really contrasts with the green. And it's pretty out here right now. The salmon are spawning in the river right here, and you can see some of them down there are dead. A lot of them are dead now, actually. But they, they fertilize their eggs and leave them in the creek here, and eventually the salmon will move downstream back out into the ocean. But I set up a chair here in the woods alongside the creek because I wanted to tell a story. I've been wanting to tell this story for a while. I still feel new at this, but yeah, we've been doing it for 3 years now, so we've learned a lot about living on the road full time in an RV, and it's been a lot of fun. The story I want to tell today, literally it was the worst night of living as a nomad that I've had. And I took a little bit of video, so I'll show you some of that here. But I didn't take a lot of video because I was pretty distraught. I was upset. So I guess I'll just get into the story, what happened. We were near Flagstaff, Arizona, the dogs and I, and we had a good time. That's where we spent a lot of time in the cave. We did a lot of cave videos. I know some of you guys like those cave videos, and some of you want to see more of the dogs, and I get it. I like to see the dogs on video too. But we had this awesome spot. I loved it. And anyways, there was this coyote. So yeah, it's a coyote story. And we've seen coyotes come into our camp before, Usually they stay pretty far away, but every once in a while they kind of come in. I've had a fox come in and get our water bowl like in the middle of the night, and then that kind of taught me, like, don't leave water out in the middle of the night because it's going to attract animals, obviously, right? In the desert, like, you're going to get animals if you leave your water out. And I never leave food out because you'll get possums and raccoons and skunks and foxes and coyotes. But this coyote kind of kept coming around near our camp. Like, every couple days I would see it. In the morning, in the evening, it would kind of come into our camp. And it was probably like 30 feet from the trailer. And it would howl. It would just be like, like a dog, right in our camp. And I'm like, what is it doing? Is it trying to like attract my dogs to it? And it was kind of disturbing my dogs a little bit. It was kind of big. It was kind of a white coyote with black spots, black patches. I took some video of the coyote, so I'll put that here so you can see what the coyote looked like as it was coming through our camp. And it would just kind of wander through. It would stop, howl a little bit, and then it would kind of carry on. And it did that. We were there for a couple weeks, so it would come by every day or two. So I'm trying to capture video of it for you guys to see, all the subscribers. And I grab my camera and I go to the door. Ekko and Dodger are inside. They're both up on the couch inside the trailer. So I'm thinking, they're pretty secure. The door's closed. I slowly open the door, get my camera up, take some video, and I'm actually rolling when the main part of the incident happens. And Ekko takes off after deer and elk, and that's a problem that I've had with him. That's really the main problem. And he takes off, and he'll usually come back in about 45 minutes, but it's been up to 2 hours. There's actually a precursor to this story, which I should tell now. Because a few weeks before we came to this camp, we were in another area in Arizona, and Ekko took off after some deer in the morning. I got out in the morning, and I can let him off leash. He's fine, but if there's deer or elk around, then he's not fine. He needs to be on a leash. And I'm usually pretty good about keeping him on a leash, but I do let him off the leash a lot when I feel like there's nothing around, especially in wide open spaces where I can see in the distance that there's nothing around, and then he's going to be fine. He's really good. He comes back when I call or when I whistle. He likes to stay pretty close, and I'm grateful for that. But so what happened this time was, it was the morning. I opened the door. I let him out to go pee. I go outside with him, and he's just all calm. He's totally calm. And then in the distance, not too far from the trailer, there's like 3 or 4 deer. And they look at him, he looks at them. They take off, he takes off. He's gone. You know, I yell at him, he doesn't turn around, he doesn't listen. And you know, that's totally my fault. He should have been on the leash in the morning if I haven't scoped out the area to make sure there's nothing around. He took off and he came back about an hour later. And I figured he would, you know, because he can only run so far. He gets tired, he gets thirsty, especially if it's hot out, he'll come back pretty quick. But he took off after those things. Maybe an hour and a half later, he comes back. And I got a little bit of video of this, but I didn't take too much. I was just happy that he came back. And he had a huge wound here, right here on his cheek. And you can see that in a couple of these pictures I'll put in here. It was open, and I was just happy to have him back. And he probably needed a few stitches, but it turns out, you know, I did my doggy care on his wound, you know, cleaning it up. And then I could see that it was a bite wound, and he had a couple little bite marks under here and kind of on his snout. It looked like he got bit once and caused this gash, and then a few small minor marks. You know, it was fairly deep. It wasn't like gushing blood or anything, but it was open. It was an open wound, probably the size of, I don't know, a quarter, 50-cent piece. So I used some of that liquid bandage stuff to kind of glue it back, and I put Neosporin on it, and you know, it healed up really, really good. You can't even tell. So whatever I did actually worked pretty good. Since that happened, I realized, well, there was a coyote nearby. So it must have been a coyote because there weren't really any dogs nearby. He's got this one eye that's white, and I think that triggers other canines to bite because they think that he's given those dogs like the side eye, right? And so they get upset and they snap. And he's a friendly dog. He's not going to bite anybody. I mean, he will fight back, but he got this one big gash, and I mean, it really looked like it was from a coyote. After that happened, I decided I need to just keep him on a leash until I figure this out. How can I keep him from taking off like that? You know, if he sees a dog or a person, he'll listen to me. So I started looking into things like that Apple iTag thing, and that just doesn't work for where we are because you need other iPhones in the area to pick up the signal if your dog gets lost or if your item gets lost with that AirTag on it. I decided that's not really going to work, so I have to keep him on a leash. I did really good keeping him on the leash the whole time. We'd go on hikes and walks, and he would always be on his leash. I felt really good about that. But what happened was I opened the door to the RV, and he saw the coyote because it was walking right by our camp, and it was that white and black patchy one again. And he was gone. He took off so fast through the door. I mean, I had just opened the door enough for me to kind of stick my head out and the camera out, and he took off, and I ran after him as quick as I could, and you'll see that in this video clip. And I actually kind of barely grabbed him, but he slipped right through my hands. He is fast. He's a super fast dog. It's insane how fast he is. No, Ekko, no, Ekko. So he was gone. He's chasing this coyote, and the coyote is just kind of like looking back like, whatever. The coyote wasn't really that afraid. The coyote just kind of trotted off, and then eventually it kind of had to speed up, but Ekko took off after it. The coyote wasn't freaked out that much. And that got me really suspicious. Is this coyote doing exactly what it wants to do, like leading a dog? And I had heard those coyotes basically killing something in the night before several times out in the distance away from my camp. Because you can hear them howling and they're yipping. They're all super excited. There's probably, I don't know, 6, 8, or 10 of them. They're probably killing whatever they're killing. Deer, calves, who knows what they're after. All I can think about is him getting devoured by these coyotes. The sun's going down. This is one of the first times he's gone out when the sun's going down. So that got me really concerned because he's going to be out there in the dark. What's going to happen? I don't know. So I just took off, walking in the direction that he went. I tried to do my tracking thing, but the ground is so dry, I really couldn't see anything. I took my truck around a couple times to different areas where I thought maybe he could be. Then the sun started coming down. It was dark. When it's dark, I mean, there's not much I can do. And I was kind of so upset that I actually fell once, and I had to stop myself and say, like, I need to reassess the situation here, go back into camp, see if he's there. And that's what I did. I took the truck out with my spotlight. I was shining the spotlight around, trying to find him. It's pitch black now. The sun goes down really fast out there because it goes down behind the mountains. Then what I started hearing was like what really freaked me out was I heard, this is probably an hour or so into it, so I know my dog's tired. He's tired. And I have no way to get back to camp, regularly to see if he's there. Like, I don't have a camera system set up in camp. I only know if he's gone back to camp, like, if I go all the way back to camp, but then I'm not searching for him anymore. So it's this weird dilemma of like, should I be searching for him, looking for him actively, or should I go back to camp to see if he's returned to camp? So what I hear in the distance, in that same area where I've heard the coyotes killing stuff before, and the same direction that Ekko was heading after this coyote, because that's the way the coyote was running, is like a little rocky valley in the woods. I find out later is kind of where they kill stuff. What I hear is just coyotes yipping, and then I hear a dog barking. The dog that I hear barking is kind of like howling a little bit, and it sounds like it could be Ekko. It doesn't sound like it's in pain, but the way the coyotes are yipping, it sounds like, oh, they're killing something. They're like in the process. So that freaks me out. I mean, I didn't know what to do. In my head, I mean, the thoughts in my head are just like, oh, he's getting torn apart right now by coyotes, and there's nothing I can do. So I headed in that direction. I did grab my water, and I think I don't think I had anything else, just water. I don't even know. I don't remember what I grabbed. I don't think I had enough sense about myself to even grab my backpack or anything. But I had a light. That's what it was. I had a light or two. I had my spotlight, and I think I had my headlamp. I'm thinking I'm just going to go find these coyotes and see what they're after and hope that it's not my dog. So I hiked all the way there in the middle of the night, and I didn't see anything. I guess they were gone. I did see some eyes in the distance with the spotlight, and now that I look back on that, I'm like, was that Ekko? The problem I had was Ekko didn't have anything reflective on him. And, my reasoning for that is because the collar he needs because it's really strong, but it has no reflective stuff on it. I haven't found a better collar that has reflective material, so I couldn't see him in the night. I couldn't see what I was spotting with the spotlight. All I could see was these two eyes. And this was after I had taken the truck and driven like a mile or so from camp. What I ended up doing was I just go back to camp and think, well, he'll do what he always does, which is he comes back. So I'll sit here in the trailer, with the screen door open, and I'll be able to hear him when he comes back, and hopefully he'll come back. All night, nothing happened. I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep at all, obviously, right? And I was mortified. I felt so bad. I felt like I had kept him on the leash consistently after that first incident where he got bit. But it was that one mistake that I made by opening the door when there's a coyote outside, and he just lunged and there was nothing I could do. Obviously, I can't keep him on a leash in the trailer. He didn't come back all night. All morning, he didn't come back. So about 8 in the morning, I'm like, okay, the sun's been up for an hour or two. I haven't eaten. I haven't slept at all. What can I do? Should I just sit here and keep waiting? And I decided I'm going to go do a grid search because I know where those coyotes kill stuff. I know where I last heard the coyotes. I know which direction he was running and which direction the coyote was running. So I'm going to go search that area and just do a grid search. I got out Google Maps, which is pretty useful for this kind of activity, and I plotted my points. I hiked one direction, then I moved over a little bit, and then hiked back, then moved over again, hiked back, and plotted all those points on Google Maps so I could see exactly where I was searching. And I was expecting to find like basically blood stains or some fur or some bones or something, because I know what happens. The coyotes, they just get a hold of whatever it is they're getting a hold of, and they rip it apart. And they take one piece this way and one piece that way. And there's not going to be much left in that area, except you'll see like a big area of disturbed grass and debris where they were, doing what they do to kill stuff. What I was going to find was not going to be pretty. I knew that, but I thought, well, I need to do this grid search, because what if he's like caught on the fence, or he's stuck somewhere, or maybe he broke a limb and he can't move or something like that. It made me feel better when I was searching, because I thought, well, at least I'm doing something. I'll find him either alive or dead. I figured I would find him, but I didn't find him. Luckily, I had my phone with me, because I did get a phone call. And when you're distraught like that and you're basically looking for pieces of your pet, getting a phone call from like somebody that I don't know, I was pretty excited, because I figured I don't care like if he's torn up or if he's got broken limbs or whatever. As long as I get him back, I just wanted him back. Not having your dog around, it's so saddening. Ekko's such a happy dog, and he brings so much fun and joy to me and Dodger's life, that having him not around or in a bad mood or hurt or something like that is pretty miserable. So this phone call it turned out to be like a super nice guy, and he's a nomad too, just like me and the dogs. He's a full-time nomad. He's been doing it for, I think he said like over a dozen years now. And he's like, hey, I got your dog. He's hurt pretty bad. Come and get him. And he was only about a half a mile from my camp. So eventually I drove up there, and I was happy that I had a bottle of tequila. And so I gave him that. He gave me Ekko back. And Ekko was hurt, but I didn't care at all. I was like, he's breathing, he's fine. He has pet insurance, so whatever injuries he has, they'll be taken care of. So that's like the least of my concerns. I don't care if he's hurt. I just want him back. He got into the truck barely. He was limping. He could barely move. And I'll put in some video here. You can see his paws. See that? He wore these holes right in his paws. I mean, he must have been hiking around by himself all night, because he left at 6:30 in the evening chasing a coyote, that white coyote. You were chasing the white coyote. And then luckily a camper neighbor found him at 8:30 the next morning. And I went around hiking for him forever till it got dark, and I drove around in the dark. I had my spotlight, and then in the morning, because I heard coyotes and they had killed something, it wasn't a long fight, so it wasn't him, but I thought it probably was, because he didn't come back, and he usually comes back within about an hour and a half after he chases something. But that was the first time ever he had chased a coyote. So in the morning at sunrise, like around 6 in the morning, I went and I did a grid search where I had heard the coyotes killing something, and I figured I was going to find his body parts there. The only reason I went was because I thought maybe he was injured and I could help him, or he was like hung up on a fence and he needed to get loose of something. So I figured I needed to do the grid search just to see in case he was alive, but I was thinking I was going to find his body parts. And luckily, after a couple hours of doing the grid search, I got a message on my phone from a neighbor camper about half a mile from here that Mr. Ekko had wandered in his camp and was limping really bad, and you can see why. He's still limping. This is a day later now. So he got caught out in the dark, and I guess he couldn't find our camp, and so he just hiked around until he found somebody else's camp. And that guy was super nice, and he fed you, and he was worried about you. So you lucked out, and he had a nice dog too. He's tired, so that makes me think too that he was out hiking the whole time. I can tell he's fine. He's just super tired. That guy. I'm just glad that I had a tag on Ekko, which had my phone number on it, so I could get him back. Ekko was so hurt. He didn't move for 3 days. He stayed in the trailer. He would kind of limp out to go pee and then limp back in. He could barely move. I'd never seen him like that. He was walking the whole night trying to get back to us. So that makes me feel good, at least, that he was working on his way back. Now, Dodger here, he used to run away in his younger days. He's avoiding the camera. But Ekko has a bad habit. But he's a good dog. I was really glad you came back. So now you can see this this new thing I got for him here. It's called Spot the Dog. And this is very reflective at night. And I really like it because it's super visible in the daytime too. If he runs off, you know, I can see him whether it's daytime or nighttime. If he gets out in areas where there's snow or like dark patches, it's so hard to spot him because he just blends in with everything. I'll put a link to it on Amazon so you can check it out. It's actually, I really like it. The thing I don't like is it's just a piece of fabric. He's on his leash right now, so I don't have to worry, but it's just this piece of fabric. And it's really thin, but it has decent Velcro on it. That's how you attach it. But this thing costs 18 bucks. And the thing that attracted me to it was the thickness of it, like the width. So it's wide enough so it's really visible. So like, especially for Dodger, if I ever put this on Dodger, he's got long hair, so it'll still show through his hair because it's wide this way. It's really reflective at night, and that's a huge deal. So that's the story that I wanted to tell. That was literally my worst night as a nomad. Ekko, come here. Come here. He was so beat up. It was crazy how, I mean, he couldn't move. He was so slow. He's a good dog. You know, living this lifestyle is tricky, and for me, I think that's been one of the trickiest things, is this dog. He's super good, so he kind of fools me because I let him off the leash and he follows me around, he stays with me, he comes when I call him, and I love hiking with him. Dodger and I have been doing that for years. I like to, you know, have that verbal recall. I like to be able to hide from them, or if I can't see them, then I can just whistle and they come running. So I work on that, and he's really good at that. He's actually really good at that. But because he chases stuff, it's scary. It just smells like fish out here. Ekko, you gotta show your good side, buddy. Come on. There we go. That's what everybody wants to see. He's a good dog. You are a good dog. You are a good dog. If you got any ideas on like tracker systems, like I said, I tried the AirTag thing, but that's not gonna work because we're just not around populated areas enough. You know, if he gets lost in the city or something, or in a town where there's like apartment buildings and lots of people with iPhones, then that would work great, because if he gets lost there, then it'll send a signal. But we're out in areas where he rarely would come across other people with an iPhone. Well, thanks for checking out the Got Out channel. Thanks for subscribing and hitting that like button. Let us know you're watching. We like to know you're watching. And don't let this video make you think that nomad life is a hard life or a scary life. It is at times, just like normal life. This is the best time the dogs and I have had. Come on, Ekko.